Dum Dudes.
Deep thoughts.
What's up, dumb dude?
What's up, dum dum? How you doing?
Good, man. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm feeling good, man. I'm happy. It's a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shining some yellow light around. Just being awesome.
Shooting yellow light rays out your butt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was running, I was doing a Peloton guided run, and the instructor was giving this illustration of like, hey, think about a color coming out, streaming behind you while you're running, and mine is the color orange. I was like, yeah, mine's the color yellow. I'm running and like spreading yellow goodness all around while I'm running fast. It was like,
You have to qualify that. If you're just gonna throw that out there, you got to qualify spreading yellow goodness.
it's like Sonic the Hedgehog or like Mario Brothers, where you're like
Okay.
on super
Yep.
speed and where you're like,
Yep.
pew, and like, there's yellow flames coming out your backside.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. That is good. What are we even talking about right now?
Colors and being happy. And now I want to talk about the Color Monster.
Yeah. I love
Oh,
that book. I'm not gonna lie. Love that book.
love that book too, man.
Do you have the
Actually,
pop-up version?
no, I don't have the pop-up
The
version.
pop-up version is good. I mean,
I
it's
didn't even
funny
know there
because
was such a thing.
yeah, like the color green, like you pop it up, you open it, and like it pops out, and he's like, there's like a hammock and like all the colors.
Yeah.
The what is it, brown? I don't have it in
Brown.
front of me, but brown is like scared, and
Yep.
these thorn bushes pop out of the book, and it's awesome, dude. The pop-up
Yeah.
version's the bomb.
So it reminded me, the other week, I don't know, I was kind of in a funk, man. Like, and you called me out on it. I was kind of grumpy, and we were talking one day. I think it was because I had some family in town, and amazing to have family in town, but it like throws off my routine, and I don't have my normal like morning, like, time to myself. And there's my sister and their kids and craziness, and so I was in a funk, and you called me out, and you said he's like, why are you such a grump? And and I had some good
Why
reasons,
you why
but
you the red monster? I'd say I didn't know you guys had the color monster. I would have been more specific in my call out.
yeah, but it's interesting because we actually had a conversation yesterday with some guys about that, right? About like not being fake, not being real, about like how you're doing, and if someone asks you how you're doing, and the typical response is, oh, I'm good. But what if you were just a little bit real and be like, you know what, I'm not so good. And I think I was even like as close as we are, even when you were on our call, and like, why are you such a grump? Like, I even responded with, I'm all good, no worries, instead of just being real and being like, yeah, hey, I'm the color red today, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right? So
When I
I don't
think
know.
there's also an obligation. So to be honest and be open about that, that is an obligation, right? But I also think if you're asking somebody, I think you have an obligation to be somewhat persistent if you really care. I
Yeah,
think, and I'm not saying that, like you should get rid of all social norms and be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like that's a normal thing. But like if you're asking somebody, hey, how are you? And you really care, you typically have to, in my experience, 20 years Navy and just being a human and interacting with your sailors and trying to be a leader, my experience has been you have to at least ask twice.
mm.
You have to at least ask
Yeah, for
twice.
you with me, it's like 10 times.
But you also know, right? And you can't be satisfied with you. So the reason I bring that point up is I asked you, you're like, I'm fine. I'm like, no, you're not, dude. Like, what's wrong? And you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, dude, like I know you. And or with your wife, right? Like with your significant other, if you accept the first answer, like you just don't, either you don't care, you don't want to put in the effort to really figure it out, because most people are not going to be that, because they also don't want to burden somebody, right?
Yeah.
They want to be um they don't want to burden you with, well, like if every time you're like, hey, how you doing today, and they're like, man, well, let me tell you something, like at some
Yeah.
point you're gonna you might be like, man, I got to be really careful about asking. But you also have to, there's an obligation that I think to really, and if someone just says, and if they're honest, like, look, man, I just need some time, like I don't really want to talk about it, then you honor that, right? You honor that, but at
Yeah.
least you're getting to a point. Most of the time, either if not in the moment, then very shortly thereafter, you can have a productive conversation about how somebody really feels. And that's what I love about the color monster is it also puts into pictures for kids, how we interact with our children. Like, I don't know about you, man, but my kids come home from school. How's your day? It's always, the day was always good.
Yeah.
Right.
Fine.
And a lot of people are fine with that. A lot of people are like, okay, good. Yep. You had a good day at school. On to the next thing. But I've also found my kids, even Maya, who's more mature and expressive. I'm like, okay, so tell me about your day. Tell me about what happened. And then like you do be prepared, right? It could have been a great day. It could have. But there also could have been, well, so-and-so said this thing and blah, 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 and it hurt my feelings. And you get into some conversations and then, but that's where the magic is, right? Like that's where the relational gold is in the follow-on question.
Yeah. Yeah. And being trying to be a positive person myself. And we also had a conversation about this with some buddies yesterday about, being overly positive and trying to always take a spin on things. And, it might be better just to realize that it is okay to like have a red day, have a blue day, have a black day, and just be okay with that and not always being trying to like fix things. We talked about with our spouse, with John David Mann and on a man on the Go Giver Marriage about like, hey, maybe just like listen, maybe just sit back and be okay with just listening about what's going on, right? Instead of trying to fix it and trying to always put a positive spin on things. But then also understand like for like personally how that could impact other people. If I'm having a red day, if I'm grumpy all day long, like how does that impact others? How does that impact my kids? How does that impact you? There are times like we'll jump on a podcast and I can tell like things aren't going amazing for you today. And like that almost kind of spills into me a little bit, right? Like when you're having technical difficulties and you're all like flustered, well, that kind of like spills into me. So just having an understanding of that happening, it's just good to be a little bit more intentional about that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I think also having that, and this was, I mean, just being real, a conversation my wife and I had last night. We were up late last night and had some really, really good conversations, everything from parenting to our marriage. She's going through this thing called ALA and they dig deep, man. It's a huge commitment and they dig deep and she's really like doing an amazing job with it, but it's hard because you dig into yourself and you set these goals and there's these things that, come out and one of the things she said, she goes, I feel like sometimes a little bit jealous of your relationship with Stu because you guys are you enable each other to be each other to such an extent that, it's fun, but there's also a depth. Right. And she said, I for our marriage, like I don't know, I never want us to lose that as a couple. Right. Like if I'm not, being supportive, if I'm not, allowing her to be who she is. And then whether it's, enjoying the fun parts or just really living in who we are. And it was a really good conversation. But I think the point to that is one, if you're not cultivating that with your spouse, like that needs to be a priority. But two, outside of the most important relationships, the most important relationship potentially with another human being, your spouse, and your kids, but who are you spending time with?
Yeah.
Like who are your friends? Are they bringing that out in you? Are you enjoying? Is it life-giving? Is it challenging? Is there accountability? And if it's not, and this was a conversation we had yesterday too, if it's not, like those people just need to go. And that's not always, it's painful, but it's not always a bad thing. Right.
Yeah.
It's not always a bad thing. And so if you don't have that person, like I have a Stu that, calls me out and then I call you out and I'm going to be persistent because I care about what's bothering you because it may make our business less productive and make less money. And that's the most important thing in life is making money. Right. So I'm totally joking, but but if you're in some kind of turmoil, whether it's personal or, whatever, Like I care about that. And so if you don't have that, I think I do think people need to take stock of who they surround themselves with. And sometimes, man, if you're a crackhead, you probably shouldn't hang out with a bunch of crackheads, right?
Yeah, I don't want to be hanging out with the black color monster all the time.
No,
Right.
that guy,
Who just
he's
like,
all those things on the page right there, they
yeah,
pop out in the pop-out book. It's awesome.
yeah, he lives in fear all the time. I don't want to be
He
living
lives
in
in
fear all
fear.
the
No, you don't
time.
want to live
I
in
want to be
fear.
hanging out with black monster, the red monster. Red monster's always angry.
Yeah, red monsters, the blue monster's always sad.
Yeah. I'll be
But
with
I like the pink monster,
pink
all the
monster's good.
hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pink monster's good. But yeah, I just think it's important to to be very, very intentional with where you spend your time. And I think we give we give too little thought to that, and just kind of hang out with maybe what's available, who's there, and we don't seek out those relationships that are going to be edifying and life-giving. And that's something that I think we should really be conscious of, and who sits at your table, who's on your bus, all that good stuff. And I think those are things that you really need to take action on too.
And always try to be a yellow monster or a pink monster.
Yeah, but you don't always want to be yellow,
That's
right?
true.
Because if you're always
Pink,
happy, yeah. Sometimes
green.
you got to be. Sometimes you have to be the red monster.
It's
Sometimes
true.
you have to be the red monster to. But I think what's good about it in that book highlights is there's intentionality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I always joke with my kids that they're fighting, and I'm like, if someone came to the door right now and knocked on the door, and it was one of your friends, it didn't even have to be your friend. If someone rang the doorbell, you guys would immediately stop fighting. Everybody get along. We'd open the door, and it'd look like we're having a great time.
Go
Like
from red to
you
yellow real
have that,
fast.
yeah, and you have the control to do that. You can
Yep.
choose that every single day. You can choose that. So
Dig
anyway,
it. That was pretty deep.
real deep, and you're a dumb dude with some deep thoughts.
Perfect.
Perfect, but you're really dumb. Actually, I feel like I bring the deep, you bring the dumb, which makes us a really good team.
Doubt it. Doubt it. And disagree. But hey, go read The Color Monster. If you have kids, make sure you read The Color Monster. Talk about it. Be intentional about who you're hanging out with, what your feelings are like, and be deep, not dumb.
But if you're gonna be dumb, if you're gonna be dumb, then be deep in your dumbness.
See ya.
So dumb. Peace.